Hello, I'm WoodenToby, excited to be back with new LEGO content. I'm really looking forward to this summer, as the LEGO station layout I've been working on in the background for the better part of a year is just about complete, and the channel's 10th anniversary is coming up in August. When I was thinking ahead about how I could celebrate that huge milestone, the layout reveal seemed like a logical choice, but I don't want to make you guys wait until August for that. So I've decided to expand the event into a summer-long 10th anniversary LEGO Thomas celebration. Starting today with my new models of the mountain engines Culdee and Lord Harry. In the Railway Series books, Culdee and Lord Harry work on the narrow-gauge Culdee Fell Mountain Railway. They only appeared in the book Mountain Engines and didn't make it into the TV show. Despite their limited number of appearances, I was eager to build these engines, as they have quite a few unique design features, starting with their color scheme. I used dark purple for the first time to build their bodies, and although it's far from LEGO's most common color, the parts I needed did exist. At least after I made just a couple compromises in the construction around the cab windows. I also got to incorporate some orange parts for the first time since Terrence, and the orange vinyl stickers were another first. I'm very happy with how I managed to convey the engine's intricate lining and detailing from the book illustrations, while keeping the design simple enough to create in sticker form. Even so, I definitely pushed the limits of the Cricut machine I use with some tiny stickers. The individually cut letters for Lord Harry's nameplates in particular are only 2 millimeters tall. Culdee and Lord Harry were each illustrated with an additional face on the back of their cabs, since they push their coaches up the mountain, which blocks their front face. I know people have mixed opinions on the double faces, and they were even removed in Korea. But for me, it's a defining characteristic of the mountain engines, so I did include them on my models. I also managed to replicate the engine's sloped boilers, which are attached to the body at an angle by clips. It was a challenge to find enough connection points on the model to join all the parts together, while also avoiding any ugly visible gaps from the angled sections, but I'm really glad I was able to figure it out. Usually, I design my faces after expressions from the TV series, but obviously, this time I had to go to the book illustrations instead. Here was my inspiration for Culdee's face, and Lord Harry's two expressions, happy and angry. As I like to do for characters whose appearances changed over the course of the books, I can modify my Culdee model to resemble how he looked in the Mountain Railway's early days, with a different dome, purple smokebox top, and no rear cab cover. Maybe in future I could work out a way to swap out Lord Harry's nameplate, as he temporarily had it taken away as punishment for derailing, then later was renamed Patrick. I have to say Lord Harry is my favorite of his names though. Another potential future project would be to build more of the Mountain Railway cast, as there are actually 8 engines in total. Numbers 1 through 5 share the same shape as Culdee, while numbers 6 through 8 share the same shape as Lord Harry. I'm sure you've noticed that Culdee and Lord Harry run on the same size track as my Skarloey Railway narrow gauge engines. However, the mountain rails have an additional rack in the center. Gears on the engine's axles grip the rack rail so they can climb steep mountains without slipping. Although I couldn't model those gears on the engines at this scale, a LEGO Technic part worked for modeling the rack rail. I can include it on narrow gauge curves as well. As usual, I also built a couple new pieces of rolling stock to go with the mountain engines. Culdee's coach, Catherine, and the railway's maintenance van, simply known as the truck. I designed Catherine first, and built her in the same standard LEGO orange that I used for Culdee's running board, with tan for the window frames. She was my first piece of narrow gauge rolling stock with bogies or rotating wheel sets. I worked out an undercarriage design that covers the wheels like my other narrow gauge coaches, but still leaves clearance for the bogies to turn sharply enough for LEGO's narrow gauge curves. The curves are a bit too sharp for Culdee to push Catherine properly, but the design will still be useful for any additional future bogie coaches. The truck is broken up into 3 sections: a van for the workmen at the front, an angled water tank in the middle, and a cargo hold at the back. The water tank is connected to the base with a new LEGO clip part, and I use studs on the sides to imitate rivets. The truck shares Catherine's bogie design. I built it as a single piece of rolling stock, as it was usually illustrated, although it's possible the cargo area was intended to be a separate flat truck. Since the truck was never illustrated smiling, I gave it a glum expression. Before we move on to a few channel updates, here are a few more shots of today's new models in action. I hope you enjoyed my take on the mountain engines in LEGO. I'm really hoping to see you back for my next video, as I'll finally be revealing my LEGO Railway Series Knapford Junction layout. Instructions for all my LEGO models, including today's new additions, are available for sale on my Rebrickable, and I do have a couple updates to mention in that regard, most of which I have previously communicated in my channel's Post tab. First, I slightly increased my Rebrickable prices by about 6.25%, purely to cover an increase in the site's seller fees. However, for anyone who contacts me by email to purchase directly from me, I am keeping those prices exactly where they were, at 85% of the old Rebrickable price amounts, which comes out to 80% of the new Rebrickable prices, or equivalently 20% off. I've linked a price sheet in the video description that should hopefully answer any questions, although feel free to ask in the comments if anything is still unclear. I've also been working on updating the digital model files included with my instructions to reflect any minor changes I've made to my models since creating their respective instruction sets. Unfortunately, it's not practical for me to redo the PDF instructions themselves each time I update a model. But for anyone interested, the digital model files will be the place to go for the most current designs. I've been adding changelogs in the Details tab of each Rebrickable listing to let you know what I've updated. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with the station layout. Looking forward to it!